Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the DFASS, the dumpster fire abortion shit show. With your hosts, Mike Walters, Greg Henson, 3G is here. We got Travis in the house today.
Hello.
Travis gets the game ball every time he's here. I'll just put that out there now. He's been our savior many
T-Roy?
times. T-Roy is dealing with some sort of car issue for his daughter. They can be a pain in the ass, children, as you know. And
Yes, they can.
yeah, one of her kids had like a car stolen. And they're not doing a great job of tracking it down, and so it falls on Dad. And so he's dealing with that bullshit
He's out
today.
there doing his best police work.
Yeah, he's doing his best police work, trying to hunt down a car. And
Oh my God.
he'll be back at some point. I don't know if maybe he joins us mid-show. Who knows? But how are you, Mr. Henson?
I am good, man. I fresh off a quick trip up to Rutgers over the weekend.
Yeah, I saw that. T-Roy told me that. We were watching the game. He's like, holy shit, Henson's at the Rutgers, Michigan game.
Yeah, my oldest is a big Michigan football nerd. He's like I was when I was his age, and he said, "Hey man, let's whoa." He said, "Hey man, let's make the ride." And I said, "All right, let's go." So we went, and then we swung by Maryland on the way back to see my son's hockey game Sunday. So
Nice.
we made a weekend of it.
Nice,
But-
nice. What's that drive from Virginia like?
All right, Virginia to Rutgers is 5 hours with no traffic, which we didn't hit any, which was
nice.
great.
Yeah.
And then, but it could be. I did it a couple years ago, and it was 8 hours.
Oh,
So
because of traffic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
because of traffic on a Friday night, we went. You go through Baltimore and DC on a Friday night, and Philly, it's going to be a mess. So
Yeah.
but yeah, we avoided that by just getting up early Saturday and leaving and staying Saturday night.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
but then last weekend we did 11 hours to see Sparty get their asses whooped.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who was Sparty playing a week ago? Michigan?
Michigan.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, wait a
Yeah.
minute.
The fight in the tunnel,
Yeah,
the whole
yeah.
thing.
The fight in the tunnel. They came back, played a tough Illinois team, right? And beat
Yeah, but
them.
Illinois what a joke Illinois is.
You think so? Illinois is a fraud. They're gonna win. They're gonna win the
The
division.
worst team in the East just beat the best team in the West.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how weak the Western Division is. It's just terrible.
Yeah,
you know?
I've never understood it. All they've got is Wisconsin. I mean,
And Wisconsin's down a little.
and Wisconsin's down a little bit. You look at the I don't know if it's East or West, I don't care, but Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State, Ohio State, how did they, when they came to those decisions, how did they do it where it's so lopsided?
Well, remember when they first started divisions, it was leaders and legends, I think it was called. But then they went straight geographic. So you can, I mean, the only argument would have been Indiana and Purdue because they're kind of, but I think Purdue's a little bit west of Indiana. So Indiana goes east, Purdue goes west. It's just
Okay.
straight geographic. I think they're going to drop divisions altogether, like
Yeah.
the Pac-12,
Yeah, I
or
was
go
just
to
gonna say that.
pods. Or go to
Pods?
pods. Well, if they add more teams out west, you'll have a Western pod, an Eastern pod, and a Midwestern pod.
Okay.
And then it'll just everyone will play each other in their pod, and then play another couple teams from the other pods. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I think if they go to 24 teams, I think it's 4 6-team pods, and then you'd play one other team out of each other pod, and that would be 9 conference games.
Okay.
Which,
Do you like
probably
that
would
with
work best.
Do you like that
Yeah.
with USC and UCLA coming over and
Yeah, I want to
obviously-
drag their asses up north in November. Hell yes.
Yeah, that'd be fun,
mean,
right? To see
that'd
SC
be
and
great.
Michigan State. Yeah. How
Yeah,
is
at Michigan.
how is Rutgers Stadium, by the way? It looks small on TV.
52,000.
Okay,
They had a
that's not bad.
really, really good crowd, great
Yeah.
atmosphere. The stadium, it is what it is. It's not great. They renovated in '09, but overall, it's okay. It's as good as Sparty Stadium.
Yeah.
Has some seats with benches and backs on them, but the majority are just benches.
Yeah.
Concessions were overwhelmed because Michigan kind of took the place over. I
Sure.
was stunned at how many Michigan. It was easily half Michigan.
Yeah, they travel really well. They're just one of those teams that travels well.
And they have a lot of alumni in New York and up the East Coast, so they all just came down.
Yeah.
It's not a bad stadium for Rutgers. Look, Rutgers has a cute little thing going there. If they're a 500 team, Schiano should die in that seat because he's perfect for that job.
Mm-hmm.
They're never, ever going to compete in the East. It's, unless somebody pulls a Northwestern like Barnett did back in the day.
Yeah.
But it's a nice atmosphere, and, they like to hang their hat on being the birthplace of college football. So let them. That's all they got.
Do they are they pretty cool with Michigan fans? Like, I know Lions fans, for instance, talk about going to Green Bay and how the fans are great in Green Bay to them. Rutgers, are they the same way?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The Big Ten is mostly cool except for Ohio State and Michigan State.
Yeah.
Ohio State is vile, and Michigan State's just little brother, and they show it every chance they get.
Ooh.
I mean, it just is. I'm just telling the truth. I've been there, seen it. And I'm not the kind that wears gear when I go to games, so I can kind of
blend
in the background, just kind of see what's going on. And Sparty's so insecure, it's funny.
Yeah.
And Ohio State, even though they've dominated the rivalry in the last decade, they're still kind of nasty.
Yeah.
They want to fight. They just want to get drunk and fight.
My old TDC partner, Jay, went to Michigan State, and he and I would get these arguments. I'm like, dude, Michigan, I know they're down, and Michigan State had a nice run for a handful of years.
The glory half decade, Mike. It's the glory half decade.
Yes. But he would argue with me and say that Michigan State, what are you talking about? Michigan hasn't done anything nationally in years, and they're no different than Michigan State. I'm like, are you out of your fucking mind? Michigan is
huge.
Such a bigger school than Michigan State. No offense. Michigan State's fine, but they're not. When I think of Michigan historically, I think of one of those top 10 all-time programs. And you could put top five, right. And there's a handful of programs that are just that. The Alabamas of the world, Michigan, USC, Notre Dame in some way you can put up there as kind of a big squad. Other teams have had their runs, but I think of Michigan as just a much bigger program. Am I off on that in your opinion?
I think it's the brand.
Yeah.
I mean, you put 110,000 people in a stadium every Saturday, and you draw the highest numbers of any college football team when you're on TV. Michigan's leaps and bounds over Michigan State in almost every way.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're always the top draw on TV, always. Unless Georgia's playing Alabama, Michigan's the top draw.
Yeah.
It just is. That's why. I mean, and Ohio State's damn close too. They draw really well on TV too. But I think Michigan State's delusional, thinking they're on the same level.
Yeah. That's what I thought, and I don't have a dog in the fight. I didn't go to either school. I used to do when I was working in East Lansing. We used to do pregame tailgates for Sparty, and when I was working at Riff, Fellhauer and I used to do pregames every Saturday for years from Ann Arbor. So I've seen both. I know both programs, and the little brother, as offensive as that tag is, really seems fitting to me. You know what I mean?
That's why I do.
Yeah. I know. I know. Were you nervous at halftime of that game? Like, is this going to be one of those goddamn games that can derail an entire season? Because they were losing at halftime to Rutgers.
No, not to Rutgers.
Yeah, Michigan.
No, but my son was shitting a brick.
Yeah,
he's like, Dad, this is not good. This is not good.
Yeah,
I said, man, relax. I said, number one, Michigan has made adjustments all year long in the second half and dominated people. And I said, it's still fucking Rutgers. And 7 of those 17 points were gifted on a block punt for a touchdown. And I said, just relax. And then, 15 minutes later, it's 38-17 and then 54. I was not worried about Rutgers. I just kept telling my kid, it's still Rutgers.
I was like your son. Troy and I were watching the game, and I'm the sky is falling guy. I think it's always going to be the worst case scenario, no matter who it is, whether it's my Niners, the Lions, Michigan, and he gets sick of it. He's like, Jesus, dude, relax. It's Rutgers, and I'm like, dude, this is a trap game. I'm telling you that they're gonna fuck this up and blah blah. He goes, dude, Michigan's gonna come out and drop 21 in the third quarter and blow this thing out.
And they dropped 28.
And they dropped 28. He's like, oh, I know, Mr. Sky is falling. Relax. They'll be just fine.
You're a little excitable, though. I bet you're bricked up over the Lions, too.
Dude.
Probably got a big old boner.
You're not buying in now? Come on. The Pack. They took the Pack down.
Shut up.
No, I'm not. I'm
That's
not
not
buying
really the pack.
it. No, I know. Rodgers looked like shit, but hey, you know what? They won a game they probably shouldn't win.
They're a
And
different team at home, no doubt.
yeah, I wonder why that is. You know that
It's always been that way. It's
Yeah.
always been that way where they would go on the road and get their asses beat, and then they'd play well at home. I mean, I go back to when they dragged Dallas in there a couple times in my childhood and
Yeah.
beat them at the Silverdome in front of 80,000 drunken maniacs.
Yeah,
yeah. But yeah, they're always tougher at home. But I still playoff win or I don't care.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. They're obviously not going to the playoffs this year. Going back to Michigan really quick before we dial in on the Lions a little bit. J.J. McCarthy throws maybe the prettiest ball I've ever seen. I mean, dude, like Troy and I were talking about it when we were watching it, and he threw a pass, just a quick screen at one hop to the receiver, and Troy goes, that might be the only bad throw I can think of this kid making. Like, I can't, off the top of my head, think of a throw that he's made that you go, Jesus, wow, he really missed on that one. And I'm sure there are some of those, but his spiral is gorgeous. His on-the-run throw is gorgeous. The only problem he's got is his receivers blow. I mean, they have got to make these catches for him. I mean,
they're overrated. I thought Andrell Anthony should have had that long one.
Of
It was a
course
little
he
he led him a little too far though. If he drops it in the breadbasket, it's an easy 6. But I agree, his receivers aren't great. The receiver that was supposed to be the star is starring at Texas right now because of Josh Gaddis. That
I thought Ronnie
Xavier
Bell.
Worthy he's okay. Ronnie Bell was never going to be a superstar. People overrated him from day one. He's
Really?
a nice player.
Yeah.
I think Cornelius Johnson is disappointed so far. He drops a lot of balls, and I think that's why JJ goes to his tight end so much because he trusts him, and he throws that ball out of the backfield to Donovan Edwards just because he trusts him to catch the ball.
Yeah, and the kid does. Kid doesn't disappoint.
Edwards
That
is
catch,
great.
He's unbelievable. He's
Yeah,
unbelievable. You know, him and Corum.
But JJ's, I think the biggest fear you have with McCarthy is he falls in love with his arm sometimes and tries to fire it into a small window.
Yeah, but all gunslingers do that, especially young ones. They all do it.
And he's lucky he hasn't been picked off more. But he's doing. I like the kid. I mean, I think the bigger story is where the hell's Cade McNamara, and why are they telling us when he got injured he'd be out a couple weeks, and now we're not going to see him at all anymore? I mean,
yeah. Do you think that Harbaugh just thinks JJ's that much better?
I think Cade's quitting on his
Really?
team. Well, where is he? We were told he was cleared to play against MSU. He came out in full uniform and was throwing the ball and then went in and changed back into his street clothes. I think I know what's happening. I think I don't think he wants to play another game because he wants to get the medical red shirt. So when he transfers, he can play somewhere for 3 years instead of 2.
Okay.
The problem with that is he's a captain. And
Yeah.
when you're a captain, and I don't know about you, but did you see the hits JJ was taking against
Oh my!
Rutgers?
It was infuriating. Yeah, I'm
Do you know who the
shocked.
backup is?
No, the
It's
kid.
Davis Warren now,
Yeah, that's
a kid
awful.
with no experience. And so by him not playing anymore this year, he's putting that season in jeopardy. They just better hope JJ doesn't get hurt.
Well, I'm shocked, and I said it all night on Saturday night. I was shocked they didn't medically pull him out of that game. That hit he took
Earlier.
in the sternum and bounced his head off the turf. You know, they're taking precautions now and pulling these guys out and at least looking at them. There's no way you get hit full force like that and pounded into the ground. I'm shocked they didn't call a penalty for driving him into the ground, and I'm shocked that no ref or coach yanked him out of that game at least for a little bit to check on him. Because
He should have been out of that game early because the only thing that can derail their season up till Ohio State is him getting hurt.
Yeah.
Because Davis Warren's now the backup because Cade McNamara, a captain, is nowhere to be found. And the other problem I have with that is there was a reporter who reported he was done at Michigan, and everyone jumped this guy. How do you know? Where are you getting this info? Even Cade McNamara's dad questioned the kid's sources. And I'm thinking to myself now, well, it appears he was right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cade's not going to play again. And I liken it to when Jabril Peppers was injured in the Orange Bowl and he was just sitting it out for the NFL draft.
Yeah.
So
a lot of kids are doing that now.
But
it's
you know, it's the generation.
shit, but
we've raised a generation of quitters. That's the problem.
Yep.
You know, if I'm a Michigan player, I'm going to Michigan and I'm going to play my career there and I'm going to leave. I don't understand now that, you know, why does Cade think he's got an NFL future? What has he done that makes him think he needs a third year, of which he will be 25 years old?
Right.
That to get to the NFL, I just don't see it. And I think he's screwing his teammates.
Well, there used to be such a pride, more so than any level of football, right? There, like more so than the NFL, more so than any, you know, semi-pro league. There was such a level of love and pride for your alma mater. Like you hated other schools. You didn't go to a rival school. You didn't transfer halfway through your college career. Now this portal is allowing these kids to use it as free agency. And seeing guys that are playing in a 6th, 7th year at college on their 4th school, it's I don't know, for just a fan, I sort of understand, like, you get beat out at a big top university quarterback position and it's like, fuck this, I'm out of here, I'm going somewhere else.
Right.
But there used to be a pride in, like, wearing the maize and blue or wearing, you know, the Michigan State S, whatever it was. And that,
you know what it is?
It's gone now.
It's the parents. The parents are in these kids' ears. They all think that their kid's going to the next level.
2%.
And
2%.
Right. Even great kids at Michigan who are great college football players have no shot in the league. I was looking the other day. Michigan's center from last year, David Vastardis, he's out of football. He was a pretty good player.
Yeah.
He's out. He's not even playing anymore. You know, it just tells you that some of these really, really good players aren't good enough to cut it in the league. And I know they want to, and that's the goal, but man, I just think
they have to be honest with themselves. These parents are delusional. I mean, literally almost none of them are going to the NFL. Almost none of them. There's 100 and some universities around the country, and they're getting talent from all of those universities. They're dipping into D2 and D3 to find these guys that have extreme talent but maybe had shit grades, and they're plucking them up and using them. And you're delusional as a parent if you think just because you went to Michigan, like 99 out of 100 of those players are not going to the NFL or not going to have a substantial career.
And you look at the case of Cade McNamara, who, believe me, I'll always appreciate what he did last year.
Yeah.
But he is so not self-aware if he believes it's going to be better for him somewhere else. Right at Michigan, he has the respect of his teammates. They voted him captain. He's always going to be a Big Ten champion. He's going to get a fantastic degree. And instead, what's he want to do? Go get his ass kicked at Iowa or so? I mean, why would you want to do that? But
well, if you're an athlete, if you're an athlete in his position, you go, well, I can play at Iowa or I can sit on the bench at Michigan, you know,
or compete against JJ.
Yeah, but he's not going to beat out McCarthy. He's just not.
Well,
do you
guys get hurt all the time.
Do you think there's a Tom Brady effect with some of these kids that think
maybe
that Tom Brady did? You know, we've all seen his training videos and shit coming out of Michigan, and he looked like such a non-athlete. Obviously, went in the 6th round, and you know his career speaks for itself. I wonder if there is a Tom Brady effect where, like, I can be that 6th round kid that nobody believed in coming out of Michigan. And I can go, you know, just on heart alone and be the next Tom Brady. Do you think these athletes have some of that in them?
If that's the case, somebody needs to sit down to Cade and say, your arm's not strong enough. You're not physically gifted enough. I mean, Tom Brady was a two-sport player. He was a baseball player at Michigan, too.
Yeah.
So he clearly had the arm strength. He's also 6'4", and he's a big guy back there. And I just, if he believes that, God love him, and I love a good underdog story. But if what he's doing right now jeopardizes the season for Michigan and his teammates, I don't care what he does. But if he were to screw his teammates, how could you look him in the face if JJ got hurt and you said, "Oh no, man, I don't want to play one more game. I'll lose my medical red shirt." I don't get it. He's already got the 6th year for COVID. I don't get it.
And a medical red shirt, I know for freshmen, I think it's 4 games. I mean, there's only what 3 games left. I mean, couldn't he? Does the same rules apply for a medical red shirt for someone like him?
Well, he got hurt in the 3rd game.
But he wasn't. Was he play? Did he play in those games? I'm trying to remember. My memory is shit.
He played right. He got hurt in the UConn game, I think, which was the 4th game of the year. So he's at his limit. One more snap and he loses a year, which I get, but I don't understand the mentality that if that's your place, man, that's your place. These are your boys. They named you captain. I mean, give back the C if you're not going to be a captain.
Well, I think we come from a different generation where this was just unheard of. And now these kids see it every week, whether it's the old Michigan quarterback who went to UCLA when he got beat out. There's
the running back, you mean?
No, I'm talking about the big white kid. What's his name?
Wilton Spate.
Spate. Who went to UCLA and he did fine. I don't know if he had.
That's where Zach Charbonnet is right now. He lost the job to Haskins, and I don't. Not many Michigan kids leave and thrive elsewhere. Charbonnet's probably the best example. And a couple others have made it to the league, but I don't know. I think somebody should sit down with Cade and say, "Look, what's your heart telling you? Sit on that bench at number 2, and then next year take your last 2 years and go wherever you want, but don't quit on your teammates."
Yeah,
and if JJ doesn't get hurt, then you don't have to worry about playing.
Yeah, that's a great point. If JJ doesn't get hurt, it doesn't affect you get that 3rd year, so you're good.
Right.
Yeah. Do you
see? And then if he does get hurt against Illinois or Nebraska, you can put Davis Warren in there. But what if it comes down to Ohio State and he gets hurt?
Yeah, and he already beat Ohio State.
Right.
Yeah. So do you see any hiccup? You've got Nebraska next on November 12th. Then you got Illinois, who can be a little scary, and obviously Ohio State. No, you don't worry about Illinois at all?
Oh, fuck Illinois. I'm so tired of shit teams, and we can go through them. You want to talk about all the posers in September? Where's Kentucky now?
Yeah.
Where's Utah? I know Utah's still up there, but they've lost a couple games. Where is all these teams? Oh, Minnesota. Fuck PJ Fleck. 5-0. They ranked them. You know what I mean? I get a little tired of that crap.
Yeah.
And that's what Illinois is doing. They just lost to a Spartan team that had 8 players suspended, including 4 starters.
Yeah.
So they're not scary. If Nebraska was in Lincoln, I might be a little concerned.
Why?
But at home,
Nebraska hasn't done shit for years.
Yeah, but they always play tough in Lincoln. But they're in Ann Arbor this year, and Michigan's like 29-point favorites. So I'm not overly concerned about that either. Injuries can derail them. Hey, I'll tell you right now, I think Michigan can beat the Buckeyes.
Yeah,
I see that team against Northwestern. They can't run the ball, and they can't stop the run. So C.J. Stroud better come out and play his A game. You know what? And that's another thing, and I'll say this again. Don't want him, don't want Bryce Young, and don't want Will Levis. I want nobody in this draft class if I'm the Lions.
Really?
I don't.
C.J. Stroud, we're still on that. Just whatever you don't draft a Buckeye quarterback. Like historically.
Right, they're all system guys.
Yeah.
Here's what happens when you get a system like they have. They are talented. They're more superiorly talented than the teams they play. So they're basically all arm punts. They throw the ball up and let these great receivers run under it.
Yeah.
But a guy like Stroud, Fields, and every other Ohio State quarterback, Haskins, they can't thread the needle. These guys aren't accurate like Tom Brady's accurate or Aaron Rodgers is accurate or even Jared Goff. These are not NFL quarterbacks because they can't read the coverage quick enough and then they can't fit it into a window. Watch them. They just whip it up there, man.
Yeah,
and 6'4" Marvin Harrison and goes to get it.
Exactly.
So,
I was just going to say Harrison Jr. I mean, I could quarterback on that team and just take a 3-step drop, throw it as far as I can, and let him go make a play. Right. And that's what college football is a lot of times in those systems. And
If I were
Well,
going to
well,
have to take one, I'd take Young, but I'm not. I don't want any of them. I'd rather have Goff next year than any of them.
yeah, yeah. What about the kid? What game was I watching? The USC. Shit,
Washington,
maybe who's shit. It was a couple weeks ago, maybe 3
Michael
weeks ago.
Penix.
Not Penix. Penix looks good too, though. But he was in
Sometimes.
Yeah. Was he Indiana before that?
Yes.
Yeah. No, it was someone else. It might have been Utah. Who's the kid in Utah?
Oh, Fat Boy 7.
Yeah, yeah.
They
He looks
call him
good to me.
Thick Boy 7. Cam Rising.
Yeah, Cam Rising. He doesn't look bad. I think the kid
Okay, but what's going on?
I don't know.
Is he injured or not?
I don't know.
Because there's this when you're
He
when
looks
you're
tough,
bored.
though.
Google, he's fat. When you
Yeah.
Google him and Google Cam Rising injury. There's something going on there because last week he was fully dressed on the sideline but didn't play.
Really?
And then, yeah, something's going on there. My son loves Cam Rising, but I don't know what's happening, because he's not playing all the time.
Yeah.
And there were some TikTok videos about it, like, why is he on the bench chuckling it up when he should be playing? And I think it was against USC or a game they lost. So, but
Well,
yeah, a lot of people like him too.
Yeah, the USC kid looks good as well. I can't remember his name, but
Yeah, I don't know.
he looked good in that game against, I believe, Utah. USC-Utah played a few weeks ago, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And they were shooting it out, and the kid at SC, it was like, damn, he throws a good ball. He's mobile. He's got a cannon for an arm. It's like, yeah, I don't know. And JJ McCarthy to me looks like the real deal. I don't know how else to put it. The kid just seems to put the ball where it needs to be put. On the run, he's spectacular. His receivers let him down constantly. But, I mean, he's 6'3". Troy thought he was shorter. I'm like, dude, I think he's 6'2", 6'3", and he's 6'3". He's going to only get better. He's still young. I mean,
We got to bulk up a little bit, but he'll be fine.
yeah.
I like him. I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah, I am too. CC.
Oh,
Settle down.
what's the matter, CC?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe Troy got home. Who knows? All right. So you don't see any problems with Michigan and their schedule. You think they cakewalk to Ohio State? And
I do.
And you think they win that game? Do you think they can compete? They got embarrassed last year by Georgia.
They're better prepared this year.
And those teams don't look as good as they did a year ago. Georgia,
Hey,
Bama.
Missouri hung with Georgia.
Yeah, right.
Well, Bama's out.
Bama's out. Yep.
And so's Clemson.
Yes. I mean, what a weekend, by the way. So Michigan, blows out Penn State, blows out Michigan State, and then drops in the rankings, which is hilarious to me. I mean, talk about disrespect. But either way, two teams had shit shows on Saturday. Number one loses Tennessee embarrassingly. Do you worry about anyone if Michigan gets into a playoff? If they do what they need to do before the playoff, you think they're in? Obviously, I don't know what you think the rankings are going to say tomorrow. I'm assuming Michigan is at least 3, and then it's on them to finish the season.
Yeah, I don't care about the rankings, but I think they should be 2, but they won't be. Just because Ohio State has not looked great.
Ohio State. Stroud ran for like 79 yards and threw for 76 against a 1-7 Northwestern squad.
Yeah, that Heisman died right there.
Yeah.
But I think, and I know the weather was, I know the weather was bad, but run the ball then. Just run the ball, and they couldn't.
Yeah.
And they couldn't run the ball effectively enough to get a big win over Northwestern. I think Michigan and Ohio State, if they face off and the game is close, both could make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Both.
Okay. Because of what happened this past weekend?
Yeah, you got to cheer for Oregon to lose a game. You got to cheer for TCU to lose, which I think they will.
Yeah.
Because they got to play Texas this week and Baylor, I think, the next week.
Okay.
And then maybe hope that USC gets bumped off just to ensure, that you have some space in there.
Yeah, a little wiggle room.
Yeah. But overall, I think they're in good shape, really good shape.
Yeah, I do too. As long
And
as
I don't know how this happened. Yeah, I don't know how this happened because this was a reload year. You don't lose 3 number ones on defense and get better. I mean,
Get better,
it's
yeah.
pretty amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Harbaugh
is.
got it rolling, man.
It's fun to watch. It's fun to watch when your team's in it. Shifting gears to the Lions. Do you put any stock? Like I'm not gonna rah the Lions, but
Yeah,
it's
you are.
well, I'm gonna say it's a good win for a struggling
cares?
team. Dude, you're hilarious. Do you put any stock in the toughest schedule of anyone? They're hanging in games. They seem to be fighting for their coach and each other. You've got to give them something, anything positive.
What's the toughest schedule you speak of?
Well, their schedule is tough. They a lot of people thought
Wait
they
a
had the
minute.
toughest schedule in football.
Everyone said when the season started they were going to win 7 games because their schedule sucked.
Yeah, but their schedule doesn't suck. Now they've got coming up the Bears, who are tough.
No,
Giant,
I'm talking about the previous 6 losses.
Yeah, okay. Screw those. We're not talking about those. They're getting their mojo now.
They're going to lose all
I'm
these
kidding.
games you're about to tell me about.
Where do you see a couple wins? Do you see a couple wins in here? Let me run these off for you. The Bears, the Giants.
Where is that game?
The Bears, I don't know. That's next week.
They might split those home and away.
They've got the Bears twice coming up. I don't know if this one's at home or away. I'm assuming this one's away. They've been home a bit. The Giants, I'm assuming you think is a loss.
A funny one.
I can't believe. I think the league is being assholes, by the way, by making this Lions team play the Bills on Thanksgiving. That's just mean.
I love it.
It's
God,
just
I love
mean.
It. They're going to get carved up like a turkey.
Oh my God, dude! If that game's not 96-3, I mean, it's like really. There are so many people who want the Lions to lose that Thanksgiving game already, and you schedule the fucking Bills.
I want to see him stripped naked and run through the streets. You know what's funny though? You know what you just said though? That's funny. You were talking about the schedule, and you Lions slappies get so excited about these games, and I'm thinking to myself, they just beat the Packers, who blow.
Yeah,
they suck.
Yeah, and had everyone injured in that game. They lost like 8 guys.
But then you say, but they don't quit on this guy. Yeah, they do. They hadn't scored in the second half in 3 weeks. They quit.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
They quit. He's a moron. I love him though. I wish he'd win.
Yeah.
But he's a meathead, and I told you that in the preseason, and you laughed at me.
No. I know he's sort of a meathead, but meatheads can win too, right? I mean, look at isn't Tennessee's coach kind of a meathead?
Vrabel?
Vrabel. I mean, he's got to be a meathead. How can he not be a meathead?
But he's a better meathead than our meathead.
Well, he's got a better team than our meathead.
Well, he built that team.
Yeah, true. Took him 5 years. Took him 5 years. We're on year 2.
You're going to give Campbell 5 years? What's wrong with you?
Where did the Lions hurt? You can't rebuild every 2 years and blow your coach out.
They just started that last week when they traded their top 10 tight end.
Yeah, but they're not going anywhere this year, and they didn't want to pay him. He's coming into his 5th year. They don't want to pay him. They don't want to pay him top 5 tight end money. Would you rather they paid him top 5 tight end money? He doesn't deserve that.
I would have rather they not drafted his ass at number 8.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, that was the last regime.
Hey, there's something to that. Don't blame this regime for that bullshit.
Well, okay. Well, where was the owner who didn't step in and say, what the fuck, guys? You'll never get a return on investment from a tight end at 8. I mean, what precedent could have possibly been set that they could have referred back to, when they drafted Eric Ebron at 8 and didn't get a return on investment? So they did it again.
Who would you rather they have drafted than Eric Ebron? Aaron Donald?
No, fuck that guy. You know what I mean? Yeah, and it's just, you never take a tight end at 8 because you don't get your money back.
That's my thought with corners. You don't waste your money on corners in the first round because they take a couple years to develop, and then by the time they turn into Darius Slay, they're disgruntled and they move on and they get money elsewhere.
Quarterbacks, receivers, edge rushers, and great offensive linemen. That's who you take. Maybe a transcendent linebacker. Maybe.
Yeah,
I just
but you can
the
find
Lions
talent. You can find talent deeper with linebacker. You
right,
can,
and
you can
ends,
find kids.
corners.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep. I mean, George Kittle's a
Yeah.
fifth round pick. He was a
Right,
fifth
right.
round pick. I don't know where
And
Travis
the Lions
Kelce
had
was.
two guys. The Lions had two numbnuts tight ends yesterday catch 2 touchdowns. How many did Hawk get yesterday? 9 catches, no touchdowns.
Yeah,
That's what
but he's only been
tight
there
ends are made to
few
make
days.
touchdown catches.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah. We've
That's
had some,
where your mismatch comes.
Yeah, but hasn't this regime drafted interior linemen, both offense and defense? The first 2 drafts they've had, they've focused kind of on that and made their offensive line a strength. So
Well,
I mean,
last year was who was the year before? Oh, and Hutch.
yeah,
No,
which is an edge rusher
smart.
and a left tackle.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
yeah, that's where you go. And I have a lot of Lions slappies who that I know that were for the first time in my life thrilled with the draft. Thrilled. Like these guys are finally not going after a one wide receiver that you'll never be able to use.
They took an injured receiver.
They did with their second number 1 pick. I don't hate that.
He was still a top 12 pick.
Yeah, I don't hate that move though. You got to have something in there weapon wise.
I would have rather had a defender. I would have rather had somebody on the defensive line or a linebacker. They are 32nd total defense.
Yeah, I know. But dude,
but hey, you got a big sexy
thing,
receiver. You can't play till next year.
Yeah, I hope he gets in a few snaps this year.
I wouldn't even bother at this point. Let's let him rest.
Yeah.
Work out. Why take a risk on that? So next year, here's your narrative. Next year, the Lions are debuting 4 number 1 draft picks because they'll have the Ram pick, they'll have their own, and they'll have 3 number 1s, and they'll have the kid
Jameson.
from last year, the receiver, Jameson Williams. So they'll have 3 guys next year, and then you guys will get all bricked up in the off season and have your boners waving in the breeze.
Yeah. So you're going to be a limp dick fan until they win a playoff game. Is that the deal?
Yes.
Okay, that's fair. I don't
not
hate
one
you for
dime, and not 1 ounce of energy or passion spent on those idiots.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you,
laugh
I will
at
be
them.
right in the end.
Dude, you're my dad. You hate watch sports. My dad watches sports to see LeBron lose. He watches tennis to watch Serena lose.
I hate watch the Lions.
Yeah. It's a new category for me. This idea
when they won yesterday.
What's that?
I was so pissed when they won yesterday.
I know. I was happy. They're not going anywhere, but it was like, give these guys something. And I don't know if you saw the locker room speaches, but
yeah, they won the Super fucking Bowl.
I know.
Shut up.
But seeing them all
fucking
celebrate
dork.
Aaron Glenn.
Yeah, we won a game.
You know what?
We're
I
one
remember
game closer to a pension.
all right, I'll tell you this. 1980, the 49ers were like 0-12 and played the Saints at home, and Ray Wersching hit a game-winning field goal, and the team fucking carried him off the field. I think the fans ripped the goalpost down, and the next year they were in the Super Bowl.
Really?
Yeah. So
Did the Fords own the Niners?
No, they don't. Eddie DeBartolo did. But
yeah, one of the best owners in all of sports.
Yeah.
How did that happen? It was kind of like last year when the Lions tied a game and you guys were like, Super Bowl next year.
I've never said Super Bowl next year, but I know what you mean. I look.
You just insinuated it. Don't lie to me.
Look, I don't have kids. I don't have a wife. So that's my only outlet is pro football on Sundays. I love college football, but pro football is where it's at for me. I've had a lot of success with my Niners over the years, and I'm just a fan. I want the Lions to do well, and so cut me a small break.
Okay.
That's all.
All right, let me give you some advice.
Okay.
Take up porn.
Take up porn?
Find something else to do.
That's all I have. Don't take it from me. Everybody tries to take the Lions from me. Just don't.
Instead of battering your hydraulics to the Lions, watch naked women.
Yeah.
Don't get bricked up over the Lions.
But that takes me 3 minutes, and then I'm done with the naked women. So I could do that 3 minutes before kickoff, and we're good.
Maybe you need Viagra so it'll last 4 hours.
Maybe. Hey, switching gears drastically, Greg. How are you as annoyed with all the political ads we're getting. We're now on Monday. Tomorrow's Tuesday, election day, midterms. It's good to talk to you the day before. And
Yeah.
I'm getting 1,000 texts now. I got one, I'll be honest, I'm not real proud of this, but I got one from Rashida Tlaib's campaign the other day. And I just wrote, "You're a monster, fuck off." And it took 2 days. It took 2 days, but they finally responded and said, "We'll take you off our list." Blah 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 blah.
You better.
Yeah, you do that. But
Wait, how did you get on the list?
I have no idea. How did I get on the list for any of these people? I don't know, but they know who I am. They know I swear to you. I swear. And I'm getting a dozen of them today from Michigan Republican this, Michigan Democrat that. They're blowing me up, and I was going through the news today because I wanted to talk to you, and I was like, we'll have some fun. We'll talk a little Michigan. We'll talk a little Lions. Greg will make fun of me. That's fine. I can take it. But let's find a couple stories here. And I was telling Trav before we started, there's literally all the sites I like are either now behind a paywall, and I'm not fucking paying for that shit, or it's just 100% midterms in politics. And I know people are sick of that shit. I don't want to bury them with it. But
so what do you want, more or less?
I want less. I know what's going on in politics. I don't mind talking about it. I love talking about it, actually. But it's so overwhelming right now. The partisanship, the attack commercials. Nobody says vote for me because I'm great. I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to do that. Everyone just says I'm not the other guy. I'm not as bad as that guy who's a monster.
Let me tell you, I'm not getting all that here in Virginia because we only have a couple of races. Spanberger for the House, Luria.
Who's your guy? Youngkin? Is it Glenn?
Oh yeah, we turned this bitch red last time.
Yeah. Right.
So Youngkin's the governor here. None of those guys are on the ballot. This is mostly local and a couple of congressmen. So we're not getting beat up like you are with a gubernatorial, but we had that last fall. So I love it. To me, it's my second favorite thing to do behind watching football. Is to watch politics.
Yeah.
So, I get into it. I'm excited for tomorrow night. Unfortunately, I don't know that we'll even have winners tomorrow night because of the Democrats.
Such bullshit. Oh,
I know.
So infuriating. It's just wrong.
Yeah. I saw a tweet that was funny that like from 1770 or 1780 till 2020, we could count all our ballots. Now we can't.
Yeah. In a digital world, by the way. Everything's faster in a digital world, except, and you know what's going to happen? I could see it already. It happened in 2020 where it looked like a landslide victory going one way, and then you went to bed and woke up and it was like, oh yeah, it's crazy. It totally flipped. Don't ask any questions. And we all go, I've never witnessed that before. Never seen it before.
Well, then you're a conspiracy theorist.
Right. Of course.
If you ask a question.
Which sucks. I'm already a Nazi. It's just it's tough,
It's and I agree with you. It's like if you question anything, you're a conspiracy theorist, a Nazi, a fascist. Yeah. I'm choosing not to care what people call me. Yeah. I'm just gonna continue to do what I think is right, and I think it's going to be ugly for our boy Joe Biden tomorrow. I hope so. He needs to be thoroughly repudiated, and I'm hoping you guys do something smart and get rid of that bitch and put that other woman in there. Yeah. Tudor Dixon. Yeah. Gretchen Whitmer needs to be held accountable. And if she's not, then whoever will be. Yeah. I mean, what she did to you guys during the pandemic is just shameful.
Well, it's hard for me because I've read a lot about it, obviously, but during the height of the pandemic, I was out west. I wasn't here. So I wasn't really getting a lot of Michigan news, outside of some Twitter stuff, and all the Detroit papers are behind paywalls. So I just wasn't getting that much. So I wasn't living it and feeling it like most Michiganders. Unfortunately, we're in this really weird time, and I see it on the right too, where I talk to people and they're just like, for the first time in my life, I'm voting straight R. I don't give a shit, straight ticket. This madness has to stop. And there's, I've never done that before. I've voted for Dems before. I used to vote for the guy Scotty Bowman around here. I don't even know what he was. He just had a fucking Scotty Bowman name. So it was like, yeah, he'll get my vote. I always say if I was going to run for office in Michigan, I would change my name legally to Steve Yzerman. Who's not going to vote for Steve Yzerman? Right?
Right.
And so
absolutely.
Guaranteed win. Half the people don't know who these people are anyways. it's mostly name recognition. Call yourself Steve Eiserman and win, like Scotty Bowman did for years.
Here's what's maddening. I was talking to a very sweet friend of mine. He's 80. I've known him for years. And I was talking to him one day, and I was telling him some other news, which we'll announce here in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And I said, it looks like your governor's in trouble. And he goes, oh, no, we got to get her back in office. She kept us safe during the pandemic.
Oh, my God.
This guy is not dumb.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. And my mother-in-law thinks the same thing. Oh, she kept us safe. No, she didn't. She told you to stay home, and she tried to get her boat out of the dock. Yeah. You know, her husband tried to get their boat out so they could go boating.
She didn't want you to go up north. She didn't want you. She wouldn't let you go to Florida while her fucking family went to Florida to look after her dad. She went to visit her dad during the height of COVID. I mean, it's so infuriating, but that's the message that keeps resonating around here. Is like she just goes on a debate stage and says, I had nothing to do with closing the schools, and they were only closed for 3 months anyways. It's like, and I didn't put anyone in a nursing home. They can just say it, and it's total bullshit. We all know that.
Because the media isn't there to fact check. They're in the bag for their chosen one, and their job was always supposed to be on the side of the people. That's what journalists theoretically are supposed to do, and they just don't do it anymore. They just don't do it anymore. And I wonder if they ever really did. You know, when you find out guys you trusted as a kid grow up to be avowed leftists like Mort Krim.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Dan Rather. There's a lot
who tried to swing the election on a fake story.
Yeah.
When Bush was in office.
These guys are not stupid. How is this happening? You know, you figure, you know, you've heard the old saying, if you're not a liberal when you're young, you don't have a heart. If you're not a conservative when you're older, you don't have a brain. Like these guys, these people have lived through this. They've lived the American dream. First off, they've become incredibly wealthy on the back of this system, and yet they can absolutely see a completely different society and world than we do. And I don't understand it. How does Mort Krim get there? How does Dan Rather get there?
Indoctrination through colleges and universities, number one. Number two, they all live in their elite bubble. Mort Krim's not out having beers at Dugan's with you and I. Yeah. He's at cocktail parties with the elites. And you know, if you're a Hollywood elite or you're a network news guy on the East Coast, you're just living in those bubbles and you're jerking each other off about how caring you are, virtue signaling. I mean, it's not critical. They're not critically thinking, is what it is, and they really do look down on the masses. Like they just look at us as a bunch of toothless rubes. You know what I mean? They don't. To them, they have disdain for us and Democrat voters. They just really do. Yeah. And it's obvious. They're just an elitist party now, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to a friend, Charlie LaDuff. I'm sure you know Charlie. And
I do.
And Charlie was telling me he went down to Ferguson, Missouri, to cover the riots of after the Michael Brown shooting and all that kind of shit. And it was, you know, we had a lot of fun with that on our show because it was so obvious that this was just like a media circle jerk.
It was ginned up. It was all ginned up.
They didn't give a shit about these people. They didn't give a shit that their city burned, and they were going to bail on them the minute the news story died down a little bit. And Charlie was telling me, we were out having beers one day in Ferndale, and he said, yeah, I remember seeing Don Lemon there on the ground, and he's in a big fucking fur coat. He's behind a barrier. Charlie was down in the streets. I mean, getting harassed by people, getting fucking shit thrown at him. His guys are running for cover. And he's like, this guy's supposed to be a national newsman, and he's behind this protected barrier, reporting on what he's seeing, acting like he gives a shit. And he was never boots on the ground. Never. You wouldn't know that by watching his broadcasts, but that was the reality on the ground. And that's just sad.
It is, but that's why I think citizen journalism is on the rise. Like you mentioned earlier that all the sites you read are behind paywalls. I wouldn't pay a dime for any of it. No. Like I don't pay for sports coverage from people I don't like or trust. I don't pay for news coverage from people I don't trust. And if I can't get it on the sites I go to, then I can get it on social media. And I'm smart enough to know when I look at something on Twitter, whether it's real or not. You know what I mean?
Me too.
But if you just use critical thinking, you can tell what's bullshit and what's not. But I'm not
100%.
I'm not paying journalists to give me left-wing viewpoints anymore. And I think that's the one thing that Trump did was he brought them all out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
I mean, he pulled them out, and now every journalist with very few exception, is a liberal.
Yeah. 100%.
That's why I get info from Ben Shapiro. I get info from I love Ann Coulter. I love Katie Pavlich.
Matt Walsh.
And I trust them. Yeah, I trust them.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw some of his work that you showed me, and I trust him. And I don't think Ben Shapiro's a liar. I just don't.
Exactly. I don't either. Doesn't mean someone can't be wrong about something.
Or have the wrong opinion.
Or have the wrong opinion. But I don't feel like it's malicious. I feel like from the mainstream media from 2015 and a half on, like it confirmed all of what we saw. People that do this for a living like you and I, who are constantly reading and consuming news on whatever level, and you felt it, you saw it, you knew it was left-wing as shit, but it was like all gloves are off, all bets are off. We're taking the mask off, and we're just gonna. Who cares? We're just. Gonna
what?
And it was so crystal clear what was going on.
Rush Limbaugh was the first one to really say it out loud. Yeah. And that's when I started listening to him, probably 88, 89. And I was working at CSX at the time, and the assassination of the elder Bush in the newspapers over the economy was despicable. I actually, at the time, wanted to start a website that was contrary to what they were posting, because they were killing him on the economy, and it was stuff that they had never thought to trash any Democrats on. It was always just go get Bush Sr. And to get Clinton elected. And that's when I first saw it. And the bottom line is Rush was right. All those years, Rush said the mainstream media. Like, now I'm really into suppression polls. Like, when I see some of these polls from left-wing institutions like Emerson, I just throw it away. Because there is a poll accountability project on Real Clear Politics, and I only follow the top 3 or 4 polls. The rest I throw away. Any poll that comes from a college or a university, not valid in my book. Throw it away. I usually follow Trafalgar. I think it might lean a little right, but they've always been right.
You know, they were right about Trump. They called Trump. When nobody else did. You would think that would open some people's eyes, you know, that would go, but it doesn't. It's ignored. No. It's totally ignored.
Nobody wants to think. Nobody wants. I mean, but even when you watch TV and you see Whoopi Goldberg just pushing these talking points that she knows are not true, it's maddening to me.
Does she? Do her and Joy fucking Behar know how full of shit they are? Like, I would know if I was pushing. But
Joy's stupid. Whoopi's not.
Yeah.
Whoopi's just
malicious.
Are you
sure about that?
I think Whoopi's pretty smart. I think she's just maliciously a Democrat.
And Oprah too. Oprah going for Fetterman over her longtime friend Oz, like it, it doesn't make any sense. Oprah's smarter than that. Oprah is smarter than that. Oprah for years wouldn't have rappers on her show, right?
Right.
Famously because of the way they talked, the way they dressed. She was basically saying, I don't want these ghetto blanks on my show, is what she was saying.
Probably.
Essentially. Yeah. Of course it was. She wouldn't have a Jay-Z on. Never. She knows right from wrong. She knows what she's doing. She did that on purpose for years, if not decades. Now to come out for Fetterman, I don't care who you are. If you watch that debate and then you go public and say, yeah, that's the guy we need representing Pennsylvania, you're out of your mind.
If he wins, I will probably lose all hope in our electoral system.
Me too.
Me too. But you know me, I think there should be a test to vote. I think there should be a test. You should have basic knowledge. You should have basic knowledge of what you're doing. Like my son just registered. He's 18. And I said, Noah, I want you to vote, but I want you to sit down and tell me what you're voting for. Yeah. I said, I don't care who you vote for, but you need to understand it. Do not take this lightly. Pay attention. You can go vote all lib. I don't care. At least know why you're doing it that way. Don't fall victim of these people who get thrown into tribes when they're young and they just follow it. Yeah. You know what I mean? You got to have a good, healthy respect for the process. Like, I mean, I grew up in a group of libs when I was 18 years old. I was preaching the gospel of conservatism, and all these other guys were telling me how wrong I was, and I'm like, maybe I am. It's what I believe. I'm a rugged individual. I don't want anything given to me. There's no good comes out of that. You always I want to work for it, and that's where you get your sense of self and your soul is when you work for what you believe in. So I just told my son the same thing. I just think people need to be educated on voting and not doing this thing like what they do in some cities is they walk in and spread money to preachers, and then on Sunday the preacher gets up and says who to vote for.
Right.
I don't like that. I just think that's a bastardization of the process.
Do you think it's laziness? Because it's much easier to listen to a friend who saw something on TikTok that told them who to vote for and why. It's much easier to read a half a headline on Twitter and go, oh my God, like Troy's daughters, for instance. They were over here one day and they're 22 and 24 or something now.
I can already know where you're going.
Well, this one you won't, but it was about the Kyle Rittenhouse shooting. Now, Troy and I took the time to watch the trial, and we read everything. We knew exactly what the media was going to say, but they were under the impression that this white guy went into a Black Lives Matter rally and started shooting black people. And it was so like, this is 6 months after the fucking trial finished. This
guy who died was white.
And a fucking pedophile, convicted.
Right.
And the other one was a wife beater. Like, you couldn't find two bigger scums on planet Earth. The one guy he shot and killed is the one on video dropping the N-bomb 100 times. Shoot me, N-word, shoot me, N-word. Like, and you want to go, okay, how fucking dumb are you girls? First off, he didn't go into a Black Lives Matter rally and shoot any black people, right? And they were shocked. They're shocked by this. And it's like, well, my girlfriend said, it's like, well, your girlfriend's an idiot too. And I don't know where that goes. Like, I remember when Trump was going against Biden, I went out of my way to read both of their full entire plans for COVID. And you know what I found? There wasn't a single difference between them because Trump was already doing everything you could for it. And it was like, nobody read it. Nobody actually read their fucking plans on their websites and came to a conclusion by themselves. Troy has been going through Prop 1, 2, and 3, and he's like, man, I didn't realize Prop 2 has a couple things in it I like and a couple things in it I don't. So now I need to make a decision, like, how much do I like these things? How much do I hate these things? But if you listen to the commercials, it's a totally different prop. And it took time for him to go and what you're telling your son to do, to go read a few things, educate yourself a little bit, and understand what you're voting for. But I don't know that young people do that.
Well, you saw the hysteria over Dobbs. Number one, people thought that was in the Constitution, and politicians told people they were taking away a constitutional right, even though abortion is not in the Constitution. Yeah. And you saw people, oh my God, they're taking away my freedom of choice. And I'm like, well, you have choice at multiple angles. Number one, you can choose to get involved in politics in your own state and change the law, because it's just throwing it back to the states. And you can choose not to have unprotected sex. You can choose to go on birth control. You can choose to abstain. There's plenty of choices.
No one's going to do that. In fairness, those last three you just mentioned, I never would have.
What?
Abstaining, birth control.
Birth control?
Well, birth control, sure, I guess. I mean, I was never a big rubber guy, but
you should be able to plan your children. Mine were planned literally to the day.
Yeah, but that's responsibility. Dude, you were running radio stations. You obviously have a work ethic and a little bit of responsibility about you. Lots of people don't, and I understand that. I was immature, did a lot of stupid shit. I get that. The abortion thing, it's funny. I don't know how much you've paid attention to what's going on in Michigan, but it is the only thing they have against Tudor Dixon is that she said she's not for abortion under any, and they're murdering her. They are ad nauseum. They're just playing that clip over and over and over. And it's like, do you really think Tudor Dixon would be granted queenhood and could just make laws? That's not how this works at all. At all. Well, and Tudor Dixon has nothing.
You get to vote on that.
Of course.
It's got so.
Whether it's Gretchen Whitmer or Tudor Dixon, you just vote on it. She's not a king.
Right.
She doesn't get to come in and go, abortion is illegal throughout the state. Like, What? Those commercials are totally full of shit. What are you talking about?
Peasants, I decree.
Yeah. Stop it.
But I think, but it's funny that here's what I love about it, because all the lefties are calling this the Rovember primary, and my thing is idiots. Abortion doesn't poll.
Yeah.
Why? Because my gas is $4 a gallon, and I can't get out of the grocery store for under $300, and because half the women agree that abortion should be rare.
Yeah.
It's like
Yep.
That's the great dividing issue that keeps women from ever voting and blocked together, because half of them don't agree with abortion, and the other half want to kill babies up to 9 months.
Yeah, and I know people have said this before, and it goes without saying, but I don't want to hear it. You had 50 years to codify Roe if you wanted. Obama had an absolute supermajority. Could have codified Roe, said it was a day one issue for him until he was elected, and then it wasn't important. So I don't know why they've done that, but you've had opportunity to codify it. Now you're going to come in and act like, oh, yeah, this is a big deal to us, this abortion thing.
But he didn't have a supermajority in the Senate, though. You would have needed 60 votes.
I think he did have a supermajority for a brief period, and he could have codified Roe.
I don't know if anyone's had 60 seats in the Senate in years. I'd have to look.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Even the midterm, even tomorrow, if it's a red wave, nothing changes. All you're going to do is neuter Biden for his last 2 years, and then here's what they're going to spend their time doing: they're going to impeach his ass over Afghanistan and over the border. Then they're going to get into Hunter Biden and investigate him, and then there's going to be a lot of investigations. Why? Because that's all the fucking Democrats have done for the last 6 years.
Dude, it's so funny you say that. I was watching an interview with your guy Youngkin, and he was being interviewed by.
I saw that too.
Did you see that where he's like, is it true the Republicans are going to just, if they win, they're going to go after Biden and talk about impeachment? I'm like, the irony is it's hysterical if it wasn't so maddening. Like, are you really asking this?
Yes, I know. I saw the same thing, and I'm like, man, you hate it when it happens to you, don't you?
Yeah.
You just hate it when it happens to you.
Yeah. Anytime you have an impeachment that is so lopsided, you fucked it up. You've done it wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know.
It should be like Clinton. Like, everyone agreed, all right, he was getting blown in the Oval Office. Let's impeach him on this. And you had both sides going, yeah, we agree. That wasn't cool that he lied and all that. But
it's funny because they're talking about Herschel Walker and he had sex with women when he wasn't married, and I'm thinking, guys, I stopped caring who politicians were banging when you let Clinton get his knob slobbed under his desk.
Yeah,
I don't want to hear it.
He jammed a fucking cigar. He put a cigar on an intern. He came on Mrs. Heinrich's fucking blue dress or whatever. Miss Heinrich had to fucking clean that shit. It
never got cleaned though, because then the trip kept it.
yeah, that should be in a museum, man. And the guy,
presidential DNA.
I gained respect for the guy, to be honest with you. I was like, yeah, who's going to admit that publicly in front of his fucking wife that he was banging an intern? I get it.
Right.
I get it.
An ugly one.
Yeah. I feel bad for her. She got murdered in the media. Murdered.
Yeah, but
different time.
She literally was the epitome of a star fucker. She was a fat, ugly chick who just wanted to bang a president, and she got it, and she got famous because she wasn't hot.
Yeah.
It's like she couldn't go to Playboy and do anything because no one wanted to see that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And Billy, man, come on, man. She wasn't that fat, man. I was just having some fun under my desk, man. Like Bill Clinton, whatever.
Well, she's an upgrade over Hillary.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, you mean your fucking butch lesbian wife? Yeah. I mean, I swear to God, when they made their idiot daughter, I swear to God, they had puke buckets on both sides of the bed, so each of them could vomit as they were putting it together. Only knowing, look, we got to fake this and have a family or something if we want any chance in politics. So they both had their puke buckets on either side of the bed when they made their idiot daughter, who's another lefty moron. And I feel bad for Monica, except she's constantly espousing left-wing nonsense too.
She's an idiot too. She deserves what she gets.
Yeah. Greg, this has been a lot of fun. day before the elections. I don't know if we'll do Friday, Monday, whatever we do. But
Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, it's always great talking to you about this stuff, and let's do it again soon, pal. Hopefully we get the result we're looking for tomorrow. I think it's going to be.
Oh, I think you will.
Yeah, I can't imagine, but if we get another situation where this thing goes and it looks like it's going one way, and then we wake up and it's all flipped, there's no way I'm going to believe it. I'm sorry. I don't want to sound like an election denier. I know. Hey, man, they brought it on themselves. They just did.
Yep.
Don't blame me.
Agree.
Don't blame me. I'm on the sidelines watching, man. All right, pal.
All right, man.
Good talking to you.
All right. You too.
Greg. See you soon, pal.
Later.
Bye. All right, everybody, that'll do it for another episode of the DFASS with Greg Henson, 3G. Find him on Twitter, Instagram, all the usual places at Greg Henson. And we got to do a TDC show too. So, all right, everybody, have a good one.